Startup Street. I'm Shruti Mishra and I have with me Arundhati Ramanan. Not only are we celebrating 1,000 episodes of Startup Street, we're getting you all the action from Web Summit Qatar in Doha. The conference sees 25,000 plus attendees, 1,500 plus startups and over 600 investors from across the globe. All of them gathered here today at the Doha Exhibition and Convention Center.
Absolutely, Shruti, and what a way to kickstart our 1,000th episode. We are here not just at any other conference, but we're looking at the gateway to the future. We're at the epicenter of groundbreaking ideas, of brilliant innovations, and big billion-dollar deals.
So if you're a startup and you want to witness the next big thing in AI, fintech, or digital transformation, you're at the right place.
Absolutely, and in fact, I caught up with a host of people today who are at the epicenter of this AI innovation. Take a look. We're here at the Web Summit in Qatar, and it's all about AI and innovation. And today we have with us Andrew Feldman of Cerebras Systems. Andrew, thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us at the CNBC-TV18 studio in Doha.
Thank you so much for having me. What a fun event.
Absolutely. And you know, before we get into the nitty-gritties of everything, if you could sort of explain to us what it is you do at Cerebras.
Sure. We build big, fast computers whose job is to accelerate AI. AI has two parts. It has training, which is as we make AI, and inference, which is how we use AI. And we built a chip and then a system and the entire computer that makes both training and inference faster and easier and use less power.
Right. And, you know, sort of to explain that to us a little bit further, you know, when we talk about chips, the first thing that comes to mind is NVIDIA, right? When it's AI and chips. But if you could tell us, how are you doing this differently?
Sure. There are lots of ways to make chips. We chose a way that focused on the exact problem posed by AI. And the hard part about AI for a computer is the amount of data that needs to be moved. And so we built a very big chip. In fact, we built the biggest chip in the history of the compute industry. And that allows us to move data less often, to keep it on chip, to work on it faster, and to use less power.
And, you know, that was what I was going to come to, because when I was reading about Cerebras, the one thing I saw is about the size of the chip that you make, right? So, you know, how much faster is it? How much more efficient is it? Like, what makes it different?
Sure. So the chip is about 56 times larger than any other chip made. So compared to an NVIDIA chip, it's 56 times larger. It's order 70 times faster in inference, uses a fraction of the power. So this one chip is faster, it uses less power, and it makes your AI experience more enjoyable.
So it's faster, it uses less power, and it's more enjoyable. And as we know, you now host DeepSeek on your platform, right?
Do.
And it's making waves. It's what people are talking about. And the thing about DeepSeek is that it's so much cheaper than, you know, what a ChatGPT would do or how you would do that. So why is that the case?
So we host a whole range of models. We host open source models like Llama from Meta, DeepSeek from DeepSeek, and we also host closed source models for particular customers like Mistral and Perplexity and many others. And all of those are served to customers via our cloud. What makes it faster? It's a good question. By being a bigger chip, we have to move information less far.
Right.
And that's what takes time in compute. And so these big chips move information more quickly, using less power, and as a result, all these different models, whether it's DeepSeek or Llama or Perplexity, or LeChat from Mistral, all of them provide a better user experience.
Right. And, one of the things that comes up is also about accuracy, right? Like, for instance, on DeepSeek, there are certain questions that you can't sort of ask or you won't get an answer to. So how does someone circumvent that, when so much information is being passed through?
Sure, it's a good question. Obviously, DeepSeek was trained by a Chinese company,
right.
And it has a whole set of politically correct for the Chinese government training.
Right.
Now, when you use AI, I encourage you not to give up your common sense.
Absolutely.
Right? Don't give up your common sense.
So common sense is what we need to use when we're using all of these AI models, right?
I think that's right.
But another question that comes up is then about privacy and security, right? When it comes to AI, when it comes to how you're using it and the information that's being passed through. So what about guardrails when it comes to AI? Who needs to put that up? Does government need to work with corporates and figure this out? Or what sort of guardrails do you think need to come into play to sort of make AI more safe for everybody to use?
Well, I think that's a bigger question than we have time for today. But I think the following. I think government has a role, but I think government wants to regulate.
Right.
And as entrepreneurs, we want to innovate. And we'd like the government out of innovation.
Right.
I think that we are, as a community, careful and thoughtful. I think we are aware that powerful technologies can be used for good and for evil.
Right.
I think there's a responsibility on the consumer. Don't put your social security number in. Don't put your tax information in. Use your common sense at every stage, just as you would any other technology.
So you're saying that everybody has to be responsible for how they use AI.
They do.
Because then it helps regulate it much better and much.
They do, and we're not abdicating responsibility as the industry. We need to put in guardrails. We need to make it safer. And our users need to use some common sense.
And what sort of guardrails would these be, though?
Well, I think there's some questions we'd like not answered.
Yes.
Right? Weapons making.
Correct.
For example, we should make it harder to gain information about the chemistry of nuclear weapons, about all sorts of war-making techniques that I think are probably better left outside of your chat. But I think open information, many of that information can be found in the library. I think it's okay if you make people do a little bit of work. You got to get up off your chair. You got to get a library card. You got to go to the library. I think that we should be very careful with our customers' data, obviously.
Absolutely.
We should destroy it quickly when we don't need it. If we have to save it, we should put up a whole set of thoughtful security around our customers' data.
Right.
It should be treated with respect.
So everything needs to be treated with respect at this point. But, I also want to come to the fact that Cerebras has an office in India, right?
We do.
And our audience would love to know, what are your plans for India and where does India stand right now in this AI race? Because I know the government's been pushing for chips and, manufacturing of chips in India. So where does India stand in your plans at this point?
Well, today we have about 70 people in Bangalore. And we're looking to double our office this year. We just took more office space. And so we're looking to continue our very rapid growth. Look, India has some of the best universities in the world, both their IITs and their NITs. These are extraordinary universities. They have people who are driven and some of the great engineers. The environment is ripe for India entrepreneurship and for India to play a leading role in AI.
Absolutely, and India is ripe for that opportunity. Are you opening more offices in Bangalore? Or are you looking at other places across the country?
Right now, we're growing our office in Bangalore.
Right.
We do have a handful of guys in Hyderabad. Not just because I like the biryani, but because...
but that's a good motivating factor.
The biryani is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And also, we are looking for a site to deploy together with our partner G42, a giant supercompute cluster in India. One of the largest supercompute clusters for AI in the entire subcontinent. And so we'd like to make a commitment of size, of people, of compute. I think there's tremendous opportunity there.
So your India plan for the next 2 years?
Oh, I think in 2 years we should have 350 or 400 people in our India office. I think we'd like to have 10 12 exaflops of Cerebras compute in a single site, providing one of the largest AI supercomputers in India. I think I'd like to get there sometime in much less than 2 years.
Absolutely. All right, Andrew, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me. Be well now.
Duolingo has always been at the forefront of using AI for personalized learning, right? Now, you know, with the advent of generative AI and also so many newer technologies, where do you see this going?
Yeah, I think for us, it's really about just making education accessible, and that's the biggest thing of how can we keep teaching in ways that are unique and engaging. And one of our biggest things, right, is gamifying learning. And we've gone from language learning to math, now to music. So I think for us, it's just constantly figuring out ways to just make it more accessible.
And more interesting as well, right? You know, I have to touch upon the fact that you had, when you started, TikTok, the followers you had on TikTok were at about 50,000, and now you're at 16 million, and it's gone viral. Everybody talks about it. Duolingo has broken the internet on that front. So take us through what your strategy was. What was the thinking behind this?
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest thing was how do we be entertaining? And like for us, we were looking at it more of Duo's a creator versus a brand. How would a creator show up in this space? And so we started just creating content that I would want to consume, or like anyone who's just watching would want to consume. And our biggest competitors were not other language learning apps. It was what takes our attention. And so we really built this whole strategy of like Duo being a creator himself and kind of being a form of satire that was making fun of the internet and doing trends that you or I would do, but now an owl's doing it. And how do you personify something that seems so difficult sometimes? Like learning a language is hard, and our job is just to make it fun. So we do that through different avenues of just interacting with culture.
Was it, you know, when you came up with this idea, was it difficult sort of asking the management or telling them about, you know, this is what we need to do to sort of break the internet? Like, how did you go about sort of convincing people that this is what we need to do?
Yeah, I think it's part of our DNA too. Like Duolingo is also about testing and learning and just putting your best foot out there. And I feel very lucky where it wasn't this big uphill battle to convince. Something I always say is like when you hire an engineer, you expect them to code. So like when you hire a social media manager, they expect us to create good social content. And we really try to create that environment of like, what do we need to do to have the maximum impact? And when we kind of sold the strategy of like Duo being a creator, it wasn't seen as unordinary. Like we're a quirky brand. We have silly sentences. We do silly things. So they're like, let's see where it goes. And started small, and we just kept iterating.
That's amazing because, you know, now it's literally broken the internet. And I have to ask, I know that, you know, your campaign is still running, but every time anybody types Duolingo on the internet, the first thing that comes about is RIP Duo. What is this? What is happening?
Yes, so the Duolingo bird is currently dead. It's been a tough week. Yeah, it's actually connected to our app icon change. So our app icon changes every maybe like 6 months to something new, and so we just try to have more innovative and like fun campaigns around it that just get people talking and excited, and this is just one of those things.
This is just one of those things. You know, we are here at the conference and everything is about, you know, AI and innovation. If you could sort of tell us how you bring AI and innovation into your social media strategy to sort of make it more exciting and reach more consumers. So how are you using AI right now?
Yeah, I think for us, a lot of it is about figuring out what are ways that AI can make it more easy and simple for us. So I would say at this point, like we still film all of our like stuff in-house. We have our creatives create like the different art direction for it, but it's like maybe we need joke punch-ups, or we need something to help us be like, is this funny? Is this not funny? What are different ways that I can write this or talk about this? And I think AI really helps us have that hat on of just thinking differently and not being exactly how Zari would approach it, but how would like a middle-aged woman from like Wisconsin approach this, or so on and so forth. So getting those different personas to bring it to life in our content has been really awesome.
Yeah, it helps you also reach a larger audience. And speaking about a larger audience, Duolingo has a large presence in India, right? And in fact, it's one of your largest like English learning people, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to understand, you've always had a social media first strategy out here to try to, you know, make people understand that Duolingo exists and, you know, they can use it and this is what you can do with it. So if you could sort of throw light on the strategy that you all have for India and like markets that aren't the US.
Yeah, so we have country marketing managers around the world, and one of our amazing Indian country marketing managers runs the India account. And we always say like his strategy obviously lives on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, but he also really thrives on like engaging creators. And so I think for us, what we've really seen from our India markets are just how creators are so essential and crucial to building out our brand and creating genuine connection. And also like these English learning, like it's so huge there. So how do we figure out ways to have fun like course launches or use people to engage in different ways throughout the different cultures there? And so I think we recently just had a Tamil launch. So like stuff like that has been really fun. And I think creators are at the core of our India strategy for sure.
So creators are at the core of it. But do you think these strategies change from country to country? Because, you know, it's so much, it's very different how people approach social media in various countries, right?
Yeah.
So how is it that what are the challenges that you'll sort of face while y'all are doing this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like the cultural nuance. Like, for example, like we might have one campaign in the US that might not resonate in India at all, or vice versa. So how do we figure out a ways to keep our mission and our brand still the same, but kind of relate to different cultural moments?
Right.
So I think even within India too, it's such a diverse country. Even that is like its own thing of like, how are we going to interact with different regions when we're launching different courses? So I think the challenge is like, how do we keep a global narrative? Like even with Dead Duo, like the duos died multiple different ways, right? And so like these are all different things that we have to think about of how do we respect cultures but also make them feel heard and listened to while still telling our global brand narrative.
Absolutely. And, you know, as a social media manager, where do you see the intersection of AI, social media, and the brand coming into play? What's the future looking like?
I think a lot of it is figuring out how to create content fast and effectively. And I think right now at like Duolingo, I think our biggest secret sauce is that we're just able to have in-house creators that get content out there and do it fast. Like we're not waiting for different agencies. We're not waiting for crazy approvals internally. We constantly are just generating and approving our own content. So I think AI kind of helps us think about it differently in a way that like, yes, this is our priority, but how do we keep pushing the envelope with creation? So I would say, again, like AI really helps us with like joke punch-ups or small things that you don't realize that are part of this process that needs to happen to just get content out there.
And, you know, when it comes to social media, AI, are there any concerns about safety and data privacy? So how do you all tackle that at, you know, Duolingo?
Yeah, of course. I think that always is important to us. I think for us, we really care about our learners and keeping them obviously secure. I would say that a lot of it is just, even when it comes to social, just figuring out how to engage with the community and what they're saying in like a way that makes them feel heard and listened to and not exploited.
Right.
And I think that's just the core of Duo too, is we very much are responsive and in conversation with what our community wants, and we just kind of give it back to them.
So always giving the community what it wants. All right, Zaria, thank you so much for taking time out and
Thank
being here
you.
with us in Doha.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to head into a short break, but don't go anywhere as we continue with our coverage from Web Summit Qatar 2025. Welcome. Welcome back to Startup Street. We are at the Web Summit Qatar and we continue with our coverage. I'm at the exhibition area, many of the exhibition areas, and I'm at the sports and fitness counter. I have with me Kevin, who's the founder of Smatch. So Kevin, first up, tell us what is Smatch, what is the pain point that you're covering, what are your offerings?
So with Smatch, we connect people together to do sports together and make new friends together in the city. And we cover more than 80 sports.
All right, so what are your offerings? How do you do that?
It's really easy. So we connect people. They tell us the sport they like. We connect them based on their sports, their level, and then they can make new friends in their city. So they first use the app, and then they meet in real life.
All right, so how is your Smatch, how is the company different from the other players that are already in the market? And also if you could take us through your tech edge.
Yes, so we have many competitors in this sector, but I think the main focus for us is not only sports, is mainly the human connection. So we mainly focus on that, and I think that's the main advantage today. We are in Switzerland, we are also in France, in Paris, and we use React Native, as you asked.
So when do you come to India?
Very soon, I hope so.
All right, let me now go across to another sports and fitness company. It's called Apprenaline. Hi, Mikhail. Tell us about the company. What is the pain point that you're solving and what are the many offerings?
Hello, the pain point is come from actually myself and my friends, and we are doing different kinds of extreme sports, and we were traveling aboard. It was a huge research to find the correct providers and the correct places to do it. So we started to build an application. It's something similar like Booking.com. When you're traveling, you just open our app and you can find really easily what kind of activities you can do around. And we're focusing for advanced level, not just for the beginners. So it's an amazing platform to do so.
And take us through your current business growth. Where all are you present in? Which market?
We recently launched in Brazil in November. We have more than 300 active users already. Actually, at this moment, focusing on Brazilian business, but we are really open to expand. And that's why we are here. We are researching this market, and actually we are looking for investors.
All right. Speaking of investments, have you raised your seed funding or are you looking for your first round of investment?
We are looking for the first round, but we have good advisors, exited companies from marketplaces, and they gave us a really good feedback.
So you're looking for investments. How much are you looking to raise and what do you plan to do with those funds?
We are looking 750,000 USD, and of course we are planning to do it for marketing mostly.
All right, those were the two startups from the sports and fitness area. Let me go across to data and analytics, where we've got InTrends. Gentlemen, sorry to just jump in, but Vasily, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about InTrends. You say it finds trends faster, that they become news. What is it all about?
Actually, we're trying to be ahead of all our competitors of the news APIs, trying to be innovative using AI technologies to give our customers real-time trends, so they can use them in their businesses and stay ahead of competitors too. That's how it's working.
Yes, but you already have competition in the space. What I want to understand is how are you different? How are you more efficient?
Because we are innovative, because actually nothing, if we are talking about our competitors and when we see the market right now, they're trying to use AI, but it seems to me they not know how to use it in the right ways. And with our teams, with our knowledges, because we have a lot of knowledges in the LLM, and my CTO will talk about more about this, we actually made a product that gives the real insights, and there is no competitors with us actually.
That's all the action from day one at the Web Summit in Qatar. And that's a wrap on this special edition of Startup Street. From Shruti and me, goodbye and many thanks for watching. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18.